Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on our third webinar in the Application Assistance Program kind of knowledge suite of webinars. Today, we are going to discuss how to apply for SSI benefits. As a reminder to anybody that's watched a video before, and then as a point of knowledge for those that have not, SSI stands for Supplemental Security Income, and we will discuss in greater detail in just a few minutes about what that actually is. Before we go any further today, I wanted to make our warning that we make at the beginning of all of our webinars, and that is today's webinar is not meant to serve as legal advice, but is instead meant to serve as additional background information. If you have specific questions about Social Security benefits, please feel free to schedule a call with us. We will go ahead and drop a link in the chat right now where you can go ahead and schedule a call with us. We don't answer questions on the live webinar, and we really don't answer questions in comments on the replay. And the reason for that is because everybody's situation is different, and I often need more information in order to give even relevant advice. So I do ask that if you have questions, please do ask them, but schedule a time to chat over the phone directly so that we can give you the best answer possible. And if for some reason we cannot help, we do try to connect you with somebody who can. On the replay, that link to schedule a call will be down below. Because this is part of our Application Assistance Program suite of webinars, it will actually take you to a specific landing page regarding our Application Assistance Program, but that's okay. That's where you want to be. You can go ahead and input your information there, and then from there is where you will get to schedule the call with us. Okay, moving along. There we go. Here is our roadmap for today. We will first start by talking about Social Security disability basics. We'll talk about what are SSI benefits, the SSI application process, and then finally, the Beacon Disability PLLC Application Assistance Program. I know on the slides it says SSDI. We are talking about SSI today. SSDI we talked about last week, and that's why these slides are a little bit off. The rest of them should be correct, but we are not talking about SSDI today in detail. We're talking about SSI. A little bit about me. My name is Caitlin Wildoner. I'm the founding attorney of Beacon Disability PLLC, which is a law firm based in Florida where we exclusively practice federal administrative law, and we assist clients with their initial applications for Social Security disability benefits all the way through at the Appeals Council. If for some reason we cannot help, we do try to connect you with somebody who can. So as I mentioned before, we don't answer questions on the live or really on the replay, but if you have questions, please do reach out. If we can't help for some reason, we do try to connect you with somebody who can. Okay, a little bit about Social Security disability basics. There are two Social Security disability programs. There's Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI benefits, and then there's Supplemental Security Income, or SSI benefits. Both programs are going to require that you be disabled and unable to work for a period of at least 12 months. Note, you do not have to be disabled for 12 months before applying, and in fact, specifically with SSI, you want to apply sooner rather than later. And the reason for that is because with SSI benefits, Social Security can only pay benefits back to the day you apply. Okay, so you want to apply sooner rather than later, kind of as soon as you realize that you are going to be disabled, you're not going to be able to return to work in the next 12 months. What I always tell clients is, look, best case scenario, you go back to work after 6 months or 8 months, and you do a great job and you're feeling better, then you can go ahead and withdraw your Social Security application. But you want to get it in sooner rather than later. In some circumstances, Social Security will kind of hold on to your application to see what's going to happen with it. Right now, we are seeing kind of delays in reviewing of applications anyways. So that's unfortunately inadvertently happening. But that's what I would recommend, is especially with SSI, as soon as you realize that you're going to be disabled and unable to work for at least 12 months, go ahead and apply. If it's questionable, if you think you'll be able to go back to work after 8 months, but that depends on the recovery process, go ahead and apply. Again, it's better to get the application in and then withdraw it when you find that you're able to go back to work than to have to potentially lose out on several months of potential benefits because you didn't apply in time. So that's my biggest recommendation when it comes to applying for benefits, especially SSI. Now, if you're only expecting to be out of work for 2 months, it's okay. You don't need to apply. If it's expected that you're going to be out of work for at least 12 months, apply sooner rather than later. Again, if you wind up going back to work earlier, or you don't think you'll be able to go back to work ever, and you do wind up being able to return to work, that's great. You can certainly withdraw your application. So both programs require that you be disabled and unable to work for 12 months. Where they differ is with SSDI benefits, you have to have worked and paid into the system a sufficient number of quarters of coverage. So you have to have a sufficient number of work credits for SSDI. That was last week's webinar. It is uploaded live, so you can go ahead and go back and watch that. Typically, we say that you have to have worked 5 of the last 10 years. If you have not worked 5 of the last 10 years, then SSI might be an option for you. And with SSI, doesn't have a work credit requirement, but instead it does require minimal income and assets. So you cannot have more than $2,000 in assets if you are single and more than $3,000 in assets if you are married and still qualify for SSI. There's also income thresholds. In addition to the assets, they're not as bright line because they do change depending on how many individuals are in the household and children and things like that. But generally speaking, there are income restrictions with SSI benefits, and those asset restrictions, like I said, it's $2,000 in assets if you're single and $3,000 in assets if you are married. It does not include 1 home and 1 car. Anything above that, it largely does include. There are a couple other exceptions to that rule, but generally the 2 most common are 1 home and 1 car. So unfortunately, what we see happen frequently with a married couple is they have 2 cars. And so that second car is going to count towards your asset restrictions, okay? So what are SSI benefits? SSI benefits are monthly payments to adults and children with a disability or blindness who have income and resources below those thresholds that we talked about before. In 2023, the maximum federal payment is $914 a month for an individual and $1,370 a month for an eligible couple. Not everyone gets the same amount of SSI benefits. You may get more if you live in a state that supplements and adds money to the federal SSI payment. You may also get less if you have other income coming in, such as pension, wages, or Social Security benefits, such as early retirement or SSDI benefits. You typically cannot receive SSDI and SSI concurrently, which is at the same time, unless your SSDI benefits are less than what you could receive on SSI. And so SSI will pay that difference. Okay. So let's say you would be otherwise eligible for the federal maximum payment at $914 a month, but your SSDI is only $500 a month. So you would get the $500 a month in SSDI and likely get the $414 a month for SSI to bring you up to that $914 a month. Okay. If your SSDI benefit amount is $920 a month, and you wouldn't get any SSI. Okay, you're just going to get that $920 a month. So who qualifies for SSI benefits? If you're 65 or older, and if your SS retirement is not at the minimum amount and you would still qualify for SSI, you can qualify for SSI. The cases that we focus on are individuals that are under age 65 and are blind or disabled. So we don't focus on the SSI kind of retirement application, but we do the SSI disability. All SSI recipients, irrespective of age and disability, have to have limited income, limited resources, either be a United States citizen, national, or certain non-citizens might also be eligible to receive SSI for a limited period of time. You must also reside in the 50 United States, Washington, D.C., or the Northern Mariana Islands. Okay. Here is the 5-step evaluation process for Social Security disability. This 5-step process applies for both SSDI benefits as well as SSI benefits, and it starts after kind of step 0. Step 0 with SSI applications is making sure that you have below the income and asset thresholds. So if you have above the limited income or assets for SSI benefits, then they won't even get to this 5-step evaluation process for you. It'll stop. They'll say you have too much assets, you have too much income, you are not eligible for SSI. Okay. As long as you make it through that prong and you have below their asset and income thresholds, then they'll move to step 1 of the 5-step evaluation process. And they are first looking to see, are you engaging in substantial gainful activity? Okay. 2023 substantial gainful activity is if you are working 20 hours a week or more, or if you are earning more than $1,470 a month in gross earnings. If you are doing either of those, if you are working 20 hours a week or more, or you are earning $1,470 a month in gross earnings, you are not eligible for Social Security. They will deny it. They will say, we cannot evaluate the medical portion of your claim because you're engaging in substantial gainful activity. If you are not engaging in substantial gainful activity, then they look to step 2, where they look to see, okay, do you have at least one severe medically determinable impairment? If you do, they'll move to step 3. If you don't have at least one severe medically determinable impairment, they'll deny your claim at step 2. They'll say your impairments are non-severe or you don't have any impairments. And so therefore, by our definition, you cannot be found to be disabled. A severe impairment is one that has an impact on your ability to function every day, okay? So as long as you have at least one severe medically determinable impairment, they'll go to step 3, where they look to see, do you meet or equal a listing? And they use their Blue Book of listings. They have listings in many different categories. They look at special senses in speech, which will include blindness, hearing loss, speech difficulties. They will also look at musculoskeletal disorders. They look at cancers. They look at mental health disorders. They look at heart disorders. So they have a bunch of different categories that they can look at. And they look at your medical records and they see, do you meet or equal one of these listings? If you do, then the evaluation stops there and they will approve your claim and say you are disabled because you meet this particular listing. If you don't meet or equal one of the listings, then they go to step 4. And they're going to step 4, they create a residual functional capacity or an RFC for you based on the medical records. They use that RFC, they look at your past work and they compare them. They say, can an individual with this RFC perform this past work? If you can go back to your past work based on the RFC they've assigned, then they will deny your claim at step 4. If you cannot go back to your past work based on your RFC, they go to step 5 to say, okay, you might not be able to go back to your past work, but are there any jobs that exist in the national economy that you can do with this RFC? And in making that determination, they use not only your RFC, but also your age, your education, any transferable skills you may have gained from your past work. And they look at all of those together to see, are there other jobs that exist? If there are other jobs that exist, they will deny the claim. If there are no other jobs that exist based on your RFC, age, education, past work, all of that, then they will approve your claim at step 5. Okay, so there's basically 2 different ways to win a disability case. Number 1 is at step 3, where you meet or equal one of their listings. And then the other way is at step 5, when they look to see, can you engage in any other work? If not, then you'll be approved at step 5. Okay, here is what you will need to apply. With SSI, they do ask information about your resources, which we'll get to in just a moment. But here's kind of a list of what to apply. A copy of the application can be found at that URL. We'll also drop it in the chat on the live. You will need basic information. You need your name, your date of birth, your social, your address. Social Security only pays benefits via direct deposit, so they need direct deposit information. If you don't have a bank account, you don't have direct deposit information, you can say no, but they will need that information in the future before paying benefits. They also need to know marriage information and citizenship status. They'll want to know the date you became unable to work, information about your living arrangements, including your bill amounts, information about your resources. Basically, resources are anything that can be turned into cash. any cars, boats, homes, land, 401ks, investment accounts, retirement accounts, anything that can be converted to cash, they're going to want to know about. They will also want to know information about your income, including whether you receive any state or local assistance, any TANF benefits, any veteran benefits, any other Social Security benefits. So they will want to know all of that. They will also, as you can see, if you go to the application, they'll ask questions about your conditions, just like they do on the SSDI application. They want to know all the conditions that are preventing you from working. They want to know what doctors you've seen, what clinics you've been to, what imaging you maybe have had done, any other type of testing, including any hearing tests, any blood work, as I've mentioned, imaging, stress tests, things like that. They'll want to know medications that you're taking, whether you have any side effects from the medications. And then they'll also need to know about your work history for the last 15 years. Even for SSI, even if you don't have a work history, then you will tell them that you don't have a work history. But if you do, they will want to know your work history for the last 15 years. And that is so, as we mentioned here, they can see, can you go back to your past relevant work? Past relevant work is work that you've performed in the last 15 years, long enough to know how to do it, okay? So that is what they're looking for. To apply for SSI benefits, minor children can actually qualify for SSI as long as the parent's income and assets are below the necessary thresholds. So there's two ways to do it. You can file the online child disability report. This is a newer system. It's not foolproof, but that is one way you can do it. The other way is either in person or over the phone directly with Social Security. The online child disability report will collect information about the child's disabling conditions and how it impacts their ability to function. It will also ask you to sign a form that allows Social Security to obtain the medical records. If the child is over 12, they will also need to sign their own medical release, okay? So that's important to note. The application for SSI can really only be done with the assistance of a Social Security representative, and the reason for that goes back to needing information about income and assets. So they've got to make sure that the income and assets are below the necessary thresholds, otherwise they don't even get to the medical component. Adults 18 to 64 can apply online, can apply by phone, and same can apply with your local office in person, okay? That link right there that you can see for applying online, that is the online SSI application. It usually will, that one actually might be for both, for SSI and SSDI. If you are SSI only, again, Social Security must talk to you for information about income and assets so that they will have a complete SSI application. So your SSI application is not complete until they have spoken with you and done the income and asset portion of the claim. And that is not something we as attorneys can help with. That is directly with you and the Social Security Administration. Once you've submitted your application, here's what to expect. Social Security will first provide confirmation of your application. If you apply with us, they will generally mail it to you. They don't mail you the whole thing. They mail you a portion of it. They want you to review it for accuracy and completeness. Once you sign it and send it back, then they can start to review the application, okay? If they need any additional information while they're reviewing it, they do reach out to you. 9.9 times out of 10, they're going to send you additional supplemental questionnaires. These supplemental questionnaires are for them to better understand how your conditions limit your ability to function. Okay, so they will send out an adult function report. They will send out a third-party function report. Those two, the adult function report is sent to you. The third-party function report is usually sent to a family member, neighbor, friend, somebody who knows what you go through on a daily basis. Usually that person is also going to be helping you. So that way they can kind of state what they notice your limitations are, what you notice, or what they notice you have a hard time with, things like that, what they do for you. The adult function report is very much the same, but it's you saying what your limitations are, you saying what you're able to do. Other supplemental questionnaires might include a supplemental anxiety questionnaire, a supplemental pain questionnaire, supplemental cardiac questionnaire, things like that, that again, just give more information to Social Security about what life looks like for you. Since they don't live with you, they don't know what you go through on a day-to-day basis. And the medical records tell a good portion of the story, but they don't tell the whole story. So that's where the supplemental questionnaires really come into play and are helpful. Also, if Social Security is having a hard time getting records from one or more of your medical providers, they will also usually let you know that as well. And that way, sometimes you can help get the records as the patient. You call up to the doctor's office, you say, "Hi, I understand that you're having, Social Security is having a hard time getting your records. They supposedly have sent you requests. Can you please send my records to them?" And sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I never got a request." And, it's kind of a back and forth. We do help with that a little bit as well. But yes, assistance with obtaining medical records. Social Security claims are heavily dependent on medical records. So that's a very important piece. If Social Security or your lawyer is telling you they're having a hard time getting these records, please do what you can to jump in and help obtain the records. Once Social Security gets everything back from you, they have a chance to review it, they make a decision on the claim, and they will mail it to you. If it's a denial, there are usually a couple different reasons. There's medical reasons for denial and non-medical reasons. Medical reasons are the appeals that we can help with. And if you are disabled and unable to work, appeal that decision, okay? The denial will often state that you are not disabled according to our rules. However, you want to confirm that they've listed all of your impairments that are impacting your ability to work, and you'll want to make sure that they've gotten records from all of your treating sources, okay? Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't consider everything. Sometimes they're missing medical records, and both of those can very easily result in a denial that should have been an approval. So that's one thing to look at. Again, if you are disabled and unable to work, appeal the decision, especially if you've got supportive doctors. If it's a non-medical reason, you'll want to make sure it's correct. So if it's not correct, then you can appeal. If it is correct, unfortunately, it's going to be a denial. Common non-medical denials with SSI are if you have too much income or assets, if you're still working and earning above substantial gainful activity levels, or if you are not a citizen, if you are residing somewhere else other than where you are allowed to reside for SSI, all of that. Again, if it is correct, then it's unfortunately going to be a denial that's going to stand. If it's incorrect, then you can appeal and show them proof as to why it's incorrect. Turning to the Beacon Disability Application Assistance Program. Members of our application assistance program have not only assistance with submitting your initial application to Social Security, other than, as I've mentioned before, the financial piece that needs to be done directly with Social Security. But we do give you additional access to webinar replays, exclusive videos regarding the application and the appeals process. We've got a video bank that discusses different aspects of the disability process. And we also provide you access to your own client portal where you can upload documents, ask questions, and receive ongoing support and assistance throughout the application and a potential appeals process. For more information, this is the link you'll want to go to. We'll also go ahead and drop it in the chat on the live. It will be down below on the replay. See if you qualify. Go ahead and go to that website. Once you input the information into there, it comes directly to us, and then we take a look at that, and we'll likely send you an email afterwards. If it's an automatic, if you're working 40 hours a week, we will still send you an email and say, it looks like you don't qualify for the program at this time, but if you have questions about stopping work and things like that, please feel free to schedule a call here. That's how you'll get access to that link. If you look like you would qualify, you're not working, you've got disabling conditions, you're actively treating, then we'll send you a link as well to schedule a call, and we can go from there. Here is again that link. You can also give us a call directly, send us an email. As I mentioned before, we do assist clients throughout the United States. If for some reason we cannot help, we do try to put you in touch with somebody who can. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a wonderful day.